Moving on to the neighbor across the Hudson River in Manhattan, the New York Knicks. So obviously they even surpassed expectations this past season, making it to the second round of the playoffs, even knocking off a highly favored Cleveland Cavaliers team with the roster that they did have. But they've managed to extend Josh Hart, or he's opted in and he's likely going to re-sign for another 4 years. And they got rid of Derrick Rose's hefty contract at $16 million a year, and now he's off to the Memphis Grizzlies. And they also got rid of Obi Toppin for 2 second-round picks. I think that's a good move for the Pacers, teaming him up with a guy like Tyrese Haliburton. He's going to get a lot of open looks, and I think it's going to really help their team out. But I think that relationship had run its course, in my opinion. Whether it was Obi Toppin's fault, whether it was the fault of the franchise, Tom Thibodeau not really vibing with him, but I think him finally getting off that roster, it's going to obviously help alleviate some of that rotational mess, and then also give him an opportunity to flourish. But they added another Villanova Wildcat in Donte DiVincenzo.
Hello, yes, you at home. This is Commissioner of the NBA speaking to you, Adam Silver. Here's a message in courtesy of BenchMob in collaboration with the NBA Store. When BenchMob hits 1,000 subscribers, they'll be giving away a free NBA jersey to a lucky subscriber.
It's another connection to that pair, to pair up with the guys that played at that college in Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, 2 championship teammates that he had. He's got championship pedigree across the board with Villanova, with the Milwaukee Bucks, played at a winning culture with the Warriors. I think he brings good shooting, tough defense, energy for a team needing some playoff experience. And I think it's not going to stagnate Jalen Brunson's rise to stardom, because he's a guy that is willing to accept the role that he plays. And I think he's a very much a Tom Thibodeau kind of player in terms of, that grit and grind, that energy guy, that guy that comes in and does the dirty work, is willing to play that role, and scrappy kind of player that Thibs likes. So I think him even being as good of a rebounder and a defender that he is with his length, I think he can play some 3 in particular lineups as that small ball 3. But he was my favorite signing of the lot. And I think, like I said, it's just going to add a different dimension to their team. In terms of the moves I'd like to see, maybe like you mentioned earlier with the Raptors, trade RJ Barrett. And if you need to add Quentin Grimes into that, I wouldn't personally put Quentin Grimes into that. But if it means getting Pascal Siakam, that would be a dangerous front court duo for this particular team. And in terms of the other one, obviously Dame Lillard. Yeah. If he can get to New York somehow, that would be crazy. But obviously that may stagnate and stunt Brunson's growth. We saw what JB did this year. He's borderline All-NBA or an All-Star caliber player. So, we've seen him play off the ball, like you mentioned in the past, with him alongside a guy like Luka. But I guess playing devil's advocate to that was when he did flourish was when Luka was out of the lineup in that Utah series early on, and he did have those 40-point playoff performances. So I think he's better off with the ball in his hands. But then again, if it does mean getting Dame, it just depends on how much you give up, and whether it would gut the roster entirely, which I think they've got a good dynamic with this roster right now. So I don't know whether that would be worth it, but it's something to consider. And when Dame is on the market, you got to maybe at least entertain that kind of idea, if that makes sense. But for the record predictor, I have them winning 45 games, so slightly less than last year, but I think they're still going to be around that mark. And depending on the moves that they can make as well, that may go up or slightly go down depending on it. And I've given them a B- because I think they've added some good pieces, had the recommitment of Josh Hart, which is important, and then gotten rid of Derrick Rose's big contract so that they can, free up some cap space. So I think that's all the moves they made were good. I could have given them a C, but I've just slightly tipped them over just based on the fact that they did get rid of that Derrick Rose contract. So yeah. B- for the Knicks.
You can't deny that will not make them even more of a contending team. It certainly will. So besides Dame, maybe the prospect of bringing in a guy like Joel Embiid, not saying this year, but maybe, who knows, maybe in 2025 Embiid's unhappy at Philadelphia. They save these assets and they can make a move for a guy like Joel Embiid. I think the Knicks are in a very good spot. I gave them a C because they did lose Obi, but at the same time, they brought in Donte, and I think they didn't get better. They didn't get any worse. One lingering thing is they didn't get rid of Evan Fournier. I know he's hard to get off their books, but obviously he doesn't want to be there. The Knicks don't want Evan there. He's not even in the rotation. So that's just a question mark moving forward. What's next for Evan Fournier, as he's still a valuable scorer in this league? Many teams could use him, so maybe he gets bought out. But yeah, the Knicks are in a good spot. They can go after a star, but yet they maintain to be a threat in the East, I think, still. So I look at the Knicks as a far better team, I guess, or position than a team like the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah, not too much to say about the Knicks besides they're in a good position and they potentially could add another star to their roster.